Hello and welcome to Park Life Sports VAR Podcast Special with me, your host, Tom Collins. Today, we're joined by Bristol Post Sports editor Aidan McCartney, along with student journalists Georgiou and James Morgan. VAR is one of the hottest topics in football right now, and it is causing plenty of debate. Video technology was used at the 2018 World Cup in Russia to mixed success. During the tournament, more than 450 incidents were checked by the video officials, and 20 were actually reviewed by the head referee, with 17 being influenced by the video assistant. However, many people felt that further problems arise from VAR, such as consistency and game disruption. So guys, what were your opinions on VAR at the World Cup? Aidan, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought it was a lot better than expected, really. I think you went into the tournament worrying about how much of an impact it would have in a negative way after we saw it in the Premier League last season. There was a lot of errors made by the referees. And I thought it was shown that it is a success. You know, it was a lot of mistakes were rectified. There's still some teething issues, but I thought it was a big success overall, really. And obviously, the Premier League are looking to introduce it next season. So you could tell from that that it went well. And I think it made a big difference to the games. You look at the England games, several penalty decisions that went our way, and you look lots of games. In fairness, that had a VAR, and it didn't really disrupt the game too much either. The referee ran over to his box and came back, and the right decision was made. I guess that's what we want, really.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree. I felt at times, I think it took a bit too long with some decisions, watching it back at home. And for fans in the stadium, I knew a few people that went, and they sort of said they didn't really know what was going on when the referee was deciding. But Ethan, do you have any thoughts from the World Cup?
I agree. I think it was a success overall. I think when we saw it come in the, I think it was the League Cup between Liverpool and West Brom, and it was just an absolute mess. The game was probably ruined. Most people would say it was ruined as a result of it. But in the end, I think it was really successful. And The Guardian, they released a poll which was basically asking people, what did you think? Do you think it was a success or not? And 75% agreed that it was. So, a huge majority believed that it overall did add to the World Cup, and it made it a fairer game. And it was even used in the final as well. It gave, I think it was Ivan Perisic handballed it, wasn't given. French players, they, waved at the ref, went to VAR and gave the penalty in the end. And you've got to think this is a World Cup final. So if that VAR isn't given, potentially, you're cheating a team out of a World Cup trophy. So it rectifies poor decisions and important ones as well.
Yeah, definitely. And James, what are your thoughts?
I think it's just about finding a balance, to be honest, because obviously we want to get these calls correct, but at the same time you don't want to take away from the drama. I think just going back to the game, Ethan mentioned about West Brom and Liverpool, I think it took, in total, he reviewed about 4 decisions, and it took about 15 minutes altogether. So in the end, you got the fans becoming spectators of someone watching a decision rather than watching a football game. So at the end, I think it's just finding that perfect balance between getting the calls right, but also not taking away from the drama of a football game, which people actually want to see.
Yes, so we're all aware that VAR is not currently being used in the Premier League after clubs voted against it for the current season, but it will soon be introduced next season, as the Premier League confirmed in November 2018 that they've agreed for it to be used. In my opinion, I definitely think it's a positive step, as it will stop any future controversial moments such as this one. I'm sure we'll remember this.
Goal, 3-0 Chelsea. Let's get that down first and foremost. And it all comes again. Chelsea driving to the edge of the box. Little ball into Torres. Cuts it back to Hazard. Hazard tries to curl it to the far corner. And Oxlade-Chamberlain dives. Handball. He doesn't know. I don't know, Jeff, if this is going to go in, It might have gone the other side of the post. But he panics. And I'm sure it's Oxlade-Chamberlain that handles the ball. And referee Andre Mariner says, straight red card. He hasn't sent off Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think this is mistaken identity. He sends off Kieran Gibbs.
Yes, I think it's fair to say that was a very, very controversial decision there. But that was a few years ago now. But unfortunately, we're still sort of seeing similar mistakes in 2018. And I'm sure we've all seen what happened to Charlie Austin this season. And here's a reminder.
Can you explain why the goal was disallowed?
Hey, they said it's offside. Hit me, I didn't. I hit it twice. Hit me, bobbed up. That's why it done Foster. It's a joke. They're going about VAR this, VAR that. Help the officials out. Clearly they need help. Clearly, we play in the Premier League, the best league in the world, the most watched league in the world. Give them all the help they need, because clearly they cost us 2 points a day. It's a joke.
So, Aidan, with VAR being introduced next season in the Premier League, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, obviously, I think it's a positive step. You look at other things that have come in and people might have been sceptical about at the beginning, like goal line technology. I think, you would have gone, yeah, is this going to work? How is it going to affect the game? But it's made a massive difference. And I think VAR will become natural in the next few years. And Premier League are just doing what they should be doing, really, and developing and moving on with new technologies. And I think, it has got a lot better. We saw at the World Cup that it can be a success. And I think there's incidents every single game in the Premier League where you think, well, that would be disallowed in VAR, or this, it might not be given. So I think it will make a big difference and, a lot fairer, really, for all five sides, really, which is kind of what we want in football.
Yeah, definitely, because obviously the game last night, Arsenal-Man U, potentially Man U's first goal could have been disallowed with the offside from Herrera if VAR was in use. And we also saw goal line technology being correctly used. And Ethan, your thoughts on the Premier League?
Yeah, I just think it's a positive step, really. And we saw yesterday, it's a weekly thing now. There's decisions that are wrong, and they're not just minor decisions. They're goal decisions. They're taking points off of teams when they deserve them. And I think, in a way, I quite liked what Charlie Austin did. And I think it kind of brought the issue to the forefront almost. And I feel like maybe something like that was necessary and needed to act as the catalyst for change almost. And I think it was soon after that kind of aggressive interview that clubs decided to, in principle, support it for next season. So, maybe that small interview was what did it. Who knows? Yeah.
And James, did you agree with Austin?
I think it was hard to disagree with him, especially given the position that Southampton are in. Bottom three. Mark Hughes sacked. They've just brought in the new manager, and 2 points that they've not been given could see them, at the wrong end of the table come the end of the season. So I think we've got to bring it in, to be honest. And Austin's spot on, because if they do go down, say by 2 points or a point, you got to look back to that decision and think that could have been the catalyst in sending them down to the Championship.
Yeah, I have to agree with everyone there, but I think it's fair to say the Premier League was sort of late to the party when it comes to VAR. As we know, the Bundesliga have been using VAR since the start of last season, and even the Italian league. And I know, Ethan, you know something about this. How's VAR going abroad?
Yeah, so it's being used in, like you say, Serie A, Bundesliga. La Liga are also using it. So, yeah, we are very late to the party. And in the Bundesliga, it was introduced at the start of last season. And since then, there's been 18... Well, actually, this is between the start of the season and October last year. 18 key decisions were overturned in the 90 matches that were played. And that was either on the unsolicited advice of VAR or with the help of VAR, as requested by the ref. And of those 18, one decision was hugely contentious, and there was also one that was technically incorrect as well. And in 5 further instances, the referees made the decisions after looking at the footage. So I think the opinion, looking through fans of the German league, the opinion is that it has made a positive effect, but there are still negatives. So there was a few people online that were saying that there have been some embarrassing technical glitches. There were a few significant delays that interrupted the flow of the game, and also communication lines between the ground and the VAR HQ, which is based in Cologne, failed altogether in a number of games as well. There's also been some problems with offside decisions too. So I think it just shows that it's not perfect over in Germany yet. And I think it is still down to kind of leagues perfecting it, and VAR still does need to be tightened up in certain areas too.
Yeah, so obviously with it sort of being used well in the Bundesliga, hopefully the Premier League can sort of copy what they've been doing. Aidan, with you working for the Bristol Post, obviously covering teams such as Bristol Rovers and Bristol City, do you think they sort of could be used in the lower leagues of football at some point?
It's quite unlikely for at least a few years, because obviously I think the Premier League one is going to be a lot of referees sat in a room in London somewhere watching the games, and it's just about having every game broadcast. So it doesn't always happen, especially in League One. You don't get every game broadcast, for live. So it would be a lot of money as well would have to be put into it to get it working. But I think in the Championship you could definitely see it very soon. That would be easy to do, because most games are broadcast or available on to watch, and obviously referees as well would be easy to train at that level as well. I think once you get down to lower leagues, it's going to get a lot more complicated. So I think Premier League and Championship is probably the two that looking at over the next few years, while they get it right, and then maybe roll it out a bit more when it's a bit easier to do, a bit like goal line technology really. We're getting that in the Championship most games now. So yeah, it's all dependent on that.
And Ethan and James, you both support teams in the Championship and League One. What were your thoughts for that?
Well, I think for the Championship it would be brilliant. I think as well the Championship has become so much more competitive, I believe now, and it's, in my opinion, maybe I'm biased slightly, but it's one of the most competitive and probably entertaining leagues in the world, I would say. And you've got, some huge players playing in the league. You've got huge managers playing in the managing in the league. So I do think once it's introduced in the Prem, it would be good if you got that kind of trickle-down effect, and eventually it was introduced into the Championship as well. I mean, I don't know about you, James, with Coventry.
Yeah, well, to be honest, League One, you've got teams like Coventry and Sunderland, Stadium like Ricoh Arena, potential places where it could be used, but then at the opposite end of that, Accrington, I couldn't see a VAR being used at the Wham in front of 2,000 people. To be honest, I can't see that happening. But I agree with Aidan completely. Not for a few years at least, but Championship is quite highly likely, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And finally, before the introduction of the technology in the Premier League next year, do you think the process will need some improving? And how do you think we could do that, James?
Well, yeah, again, just going back to that West Brom Liverpool game, it was a nightmare. But with the World Cup, we did see some improvements. I just think the clarity needs to be there. A lot of fans have said, what's going on here? What are we doing? So we've got to get that balance right of clarity and making that correct call. I think that's the big issue for me, to be honest. Just getting that, not leaving fans in the lurch and thinking, what's going on here? We just need to make it clear, concise. I think Ethan's going to come on to what they do in tennis, but, just getting the fans involved in a way.
Yeah, you mentioned kind of bringing the fans in, getting them involved, and you see it in not just tennis, but you see it in a few other sports as well. But tennis is a good example because they found a way of, through Hawkeye, using the technology, but almost making it part of the game, and it's exciting for the fans. So, I've been to Wimbledon myself, and it does add to the experience. So everybody starts clapping, and then on the screen, they show kind of the Hawkeye where the ball's landed, and it just adds to the excitement. And you get it in cricket as well. You get the big screens in cricket with the, out, not out. And it's a way of keeping the fans involved. They know what's going on the whole time. Whereas with VAR, it seems a little bit like, the ref walks off the pitch. No one really knows. There's no sign of it. A whistle could be blown, or the ref walks off the pitch to look at his screen. But, when you've got people in the bigger venues at the top of the stands, they can't see all this going on. And so to them, they're not really, they're paying for the experience, but they're not really involved enough, in my opinion. I mean, Aidan, what do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it is going to be crucial that they purvey the message across to the fans. So if you've got it on the big screen, tell fans what's going on. It's a really good point. I think if you don't do that, then it will be a bit of a disaster, because even if the decisions are right, fans in the stadium, 60,000 people, will be very confused and thinking, why is the referee holding his ear? Is he going to give a penalty? He's going to, we need a bit more clarity. I think that's spot on. And if you get that right, then yeah, you'd be halfway there, really. I think you're getting decisions right. Stuff like offside is always going to be a bit controversial. It's kind of a bit human eye, really, isn't it, as well? You can see some that is offside, some that aren't. You're never going to get that fully right. And there's a few of us that maybe the technical penalty and stuff like that, there's stuff like that which maybe, again, some people will think it's penalty, some people won't. But I think we'll get to a point where VAR actually makes the best, makes the best decision for the game as well. And I think, having that clarity in the stadium will just be crucial.
And Serie A as well, they've very recently actually, they've made it accessible to everyone and all the fans in the stadium, as they're now going to show replays on the stadium screens as well, which is, one small step possibly towards involving the fans more. So hopefully, they'll improve it as time goes on.
Yeah, hopefully we do see that in the Premier League. Maybe not at the start of next season, maybe the season after, but clarity for fans is definitely something that needs to happen. You see it in rugby with the big screens. It comes up with try, no try, and obviously tennis, cricket. But the main issue from the World Cup, I think, was the fans didn't really know what was happening.
Definitely.
And yeah, any other thoughts on VAR, boys?
Bring it into the game. For me, I'm all for it. I think it's a positive step, and I think it just ultimately makes the game more fair.
I think a criticism of VAR also has been, it undermines the referee. But I don't really buy into that argument, to be honest, because I think the referee would like as much help as they can possibly get, because I think they'd rather get it right than get it wrong and be slaughtered, in the press the next day, and, instead of officiating a Premier League game, they're officiating a League One game the next weekend. So, yeah, I don't really buy the fact that, it undermines the referee. I think, I think they want in probably as much as the fans and the players do.
Yeah, I completely agree with that as well. I think, the referee will want this help. It's a useful tool for everyone in the stadium and in the ground and the football match. I think as well, in terms of goal line technology, everyone did say this at the start, and I was like, oh, it's not going to work, it's not going to do this. And I think that's proven to be a big success. And you'd like to think that VAR would be as well, with the teething problems taking out the game. And, we make a big difference to some big results. And it's what you want, isn't it, really, as a football fan? You don't want to see the referee getting all the decisions wrong, especially when they affect your team.
Yeah, 100%. So we all agree that VAR is a good thing for football. Tell us what you think on social media at Park Life Sport. And that's all we have time for today. Thank you to Aidan for joining us. We'll be back next week. Thank you, Ethan and James. Have a good day.